What's going on, guys? I'm Tate from the Digital Studio, and I will be going over the assertion evidence slide design method for creating presentations in PowerPoint. I tried to adopt the assertion evidence slide design method throughout this entire presentation, so if you have any um, questions or need any examples of how a assertion evidence slide design would look, just go through this presentation and take a look at some of these. So first things first, every assertion evidence slide design presentation has a title slide, which was the previous slide, and this is the navigation slide. So the navigation slide has pretty much briefs your audience on what you're going to be going over. So for this specific presentation, we're going to focus on the benefits of the assertion evidence method, specifically what it is, how to approach slide design in PowerPoint, and what to avoid for slide design. So assertion evidence slide design provides key messages and supports using visual evidence. So in this specific slide, the assertion or the key message that you're trying to get across is that assertion evidence provides key messages. So that top line is the assertion, and below that we have two sets of visual evidence, um, the graphs and charts and the diagrams. So typically when you're doing assertion evidence, you want to have visual evidence that helps aid your assertion. Visual evidence is much easier for audiences to understand and comprehend. So many times in specifically scientific or engineering presentations, graphs and charts will be useful, diagrams as well. You can have pictures, really depends on the subject matter, but you just want something that will um, give some evidence to your assertion. So here's an example of an assertion evidence slide design. So the assertion is that the COVID-19 disease has recently become a major issue in the United States. So along with that, we have a graph and a picture. So the graph shows the recent uptick in deaths and cases in the United States. And the picture shows the altering lifestyle that it has caused with the empty supermarket shelves. So these are just two examples of visual evidence that you can have that help support your claim. Assertion evidence is all about putting the presenter in the spotlight, not necessarily the presentation. The slide, you don't want the slide to be the main focus. You want yourself to be the main focus. So to do this, you want to avoid bulleted lists. This can lead to you reading off the slide, which is doing the opposite of what you want. And it's also pretty boring and unengaging um, because when you read off the slide, you're relying on the slide and everyone's looking at the slide and they're not looking at you and um, listening to what you have to say about your topic. They're just looking at the slide. This is really critical for scientific, engineering presentations, which Embry-Riddle has a lot of, because these presentations can be very technical and methodical. So any design elements you can do to avoid being unengaging. You really want to use methods that enhance engagement, especially in scientific and engineering presentations. So assertion evidence is a good method for that. It puts the spotlight on you and not on your slide. You want the slide to be a crutch you can use to help enhance your presentation, but you don't want it to be the life support of your presentation. Sometimes people can rely too heavily on their presentation and not be as prepared. So when you're prepared, you have more confidence, and when you have more confidence, your presentations typically go better. So that's a big deal. So with the default PowerPoint presentations, they give you, most of them that you see will provide like a title, and they'll give you a box with a bunch of bullet points in it. So this is really not what you want to do. Here's an example of a bad PowerPoint presentation slide. So this is the typical um, default template that they give you. So many times you see this. The title is this Brahma chickens, and then you have a bullet point list of facts. This is really poor for the audience to see because the bulleted list clutters the slide. The audience will be reading the slide, not listening to you, what you have to say. So here's a good example of how to flip that default PowerPoint presentation around and make it a assertion evidence slide design. So here we have the claim that Brahma chickens are large, and we have some visual evidence, some pictures to help support that claim. One really good thing to do is to put arrows that point and label important things. So here we have a comparison between a Brahma and a normal chicken, and you can see that the size difference is easily discernible, especially to an audience when they first glance at it. That's really important, really key. And it gives characteristics as well. So this is really important for assertion evidence. You just want the first thing when the audience sees your slide for them to understand and comprehend the point that you're trying to get across. So here's another example of a good assertion evidence slide design. Another good thing you can do to really engage your audience is to use animations. So this can really put a connection between what you're saying and what's on your slide. So the audience can go back and forth and really comprehend what's happening. So as you talk about the water cycle, you can, as you talk about each cycle, you can do the animation, and this really helps the engagement of your audience. So the last thing you need for the assertion evidence slide design method is a conclusion slide. So that's what we have here. It really summarizes your entire presentation. It gives the most important points. Here we have a good example of an assertion evidence slide, and we have some supporting claims, which is that the assertion evidence is simple, easy, comprehend slides, and this leads to ultimately more effective and engaging presentations. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully, when you guys adopt these principles in your presentations, it will go much smoother. You have more confidence, and they will be more effective. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.